Welcome back, Alpha Hunters. Okay, so we are going to be doing a little different video here, and this is going to be a continuation going forward. But what I'm going to try to provide is a stock that you guys give me. I try to come up with a game plan for it and see what kind of creative ways that we can look to make and generate returns, cash flow, that kind of thing off of stock recommendations that you got. So I'll do one of these potentially a week. The first one we are going to look at is APRN or Blue Apron Holdings. Okay, so that is what you see here on the screen. And where I got this stock is I'm kind of been messing around with FinViz and their stock screener. And what I'm trying to find is stocks that are heavily shorted. They have high short float. And that is one of the reasons why I'm using FinViz, is they have a short float stock screener in here. So this allows us to target stocks that are heavily shorted, because heavily shorted stocks potentially have the possibility for dramatic increases in stock price as those shorts look to cover. Okay, so I'm looking for just beating down stocks. The other thing I'm kind of looking for also is stocks that are below at really kind of low price levels. So you know the Blue Apron here is also priced around the 765 area, and a lot of these are kind of low priced. But what I'm really looking for though is that short float, and then there's some other things on here I have selected just to clear out a lot of the clutter. I am kind of still working on the stock screener, but Blue Apron did pop off in here, and I was just kind of looking at it in the charts, and I did like what I saw. So we have, this is just a basic daily chart. So if you look at just a basic daily chart, it's not really a big deal. It did have a strong rally back in September to December, and that went up like 400% or roughly. So that's a promise. But the interesting part about this peak, as I move to a weekly chart, is it was the peak it hit back in early 2021. It came right to that level. And that is also about where the 200 moving average is currently. So my game plan, as I saw this, was interesting. A highly shorted stock, low price. I could potentially, and I see this this top back over here around 15 points or so, the 15 point level on APRN, and then you had this massive, probably short covering that happened at the COVID bottom. That's what this was, and all that price movement happened in a week. So it went up in a week, roughly, I don't know. Let's see. Let me get the tool out. In a week, it went up about 1,200%. About 1,200% in a week. That is crazy. But that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for like short coverings and stuff like that, as potentially the company even makes a turnaround. And one of the reasons why I do want to do this, I'm going to look at two stocks real quick. I'll show off two stocks before we continue on with this analysis. But GME, we all know about GME and what it did between 2020 and early 2021. That was a dramatic rise. If you would have been buying options back here in the single-digit price level, that is a monster gain. Here's another one that's more practical. Like, that is an anomaly, really, to be pretty honest. But I want to look at AMD. And the reason why I want to look at AMD is I'm going to come back over here to the mid-20 teens. Actually, I'll just go out to a monthly chart. I don't have to scroll all over. So this is looking at a monthly chart in AMD, and it was kind of left for dead back here. Okay, so as it started climbing out, the cool thing about buying options and buying leap options down at these price levels, when the stock is at single digits, is the options are even cheaper, right? You can't price options down here at like $10. So the thing about buying options at this low price level is you buy them for like 50 cents. And guess what? If the stock makes the move that you're expecting, then cool. Then you could potentially exercise the option and take on the stock. you know, but it allows you to have that flexibility. And if you don't want to, you just want to sell the options for the gain, you can do that as well. But you know what? If it doesn't make the move and you have 2 years or maybe like a year to 2 years, depending on how long you have that leap for, you know, maybe all you were in it for is like 50 cents or $1. It's not a big deal, you know, or, you know, 50 cents per share or $1 per share. So it's not really a big deal. So that's all I'm kind of looking for is the stocks that are really beaten down, have a lot of short float, have low price levels so that we can get cheap, potentially get cheap options with the possibility of short covering and potentially even a business turnaround like AMD did. Like this is a solid business turnaround, and I definitely did not play this until about this area, and I've been bullish on AMD really ever since. So I'm, yeah, just kind of missed out on like a lot of opportunities, but I wasn't trying to set up a stock screener like I am now for these kind of potential scenarios, because these can be massive, massive winners with really low risk. So that is what I am potentially looking for with this setup. Okay, so let's go back to APRN and let's see what we can find. So this is APRN on a monthly. So right, it IPO'd and has sold off ever since and had the massive pop, and then it has gone sideways. So that is very clear kind of indication that, okay, we have a sideways channel after a massive pop, and there's some similarities between this and even GameStop, GME, and AMD. So what we can try to do is, I wouldn't say play this immediately. Okay, what I would like to do with this stock is actually just set a price alert right above this double top here. Okay. So basically about right there, but $13 area is pretty much right where I put that. And if you want to put on a price alert and think or swim, you can actually just click this plus symbol. I can't make the screen larger, so if that's kind of hard to see, sorry. But on the right side, next to the price that shows up on the horizontal, the vertical axis over here, you can click that price. Up opens a price alert box. And the top one will be add alert for APRN, and then there's a bunch of other ones like EMA alerts and stuff like that. But I want to add an alert for APRN. Okay, so what that price alert will do, and I'll take off the, so I have a price alert right there. It's pretty much at the 13-point area. So what that price alert will do is it will ping me and let me know whenever APRN gets above or crosses that 13-point level for APRN. Okay, and that's exactly what I want to know. And the things that I do want to check on in the future, if it pops above that, and the great thing about TradingView is you have a text box you can just add in here. The things I want to check on: increasing revenue, increasing earnings, are they getting costs under control and that kind of stuff, and then what is the short float. Okay, these are the things I want to see, I want to check on. So I will just leave this here, and whenever it pings me in the future, great. If your broker has price alerts and stuff like that, then fantastic. You know, just set a price alert and it'll ping you. But this is what I'm looking for, okay? I'm looking for this pop higher. I want to get notified, and then I'll re-examine the trade or re-examine what I want out of APRN, okay? So this is not a trade I'm going to put on now. And then I just want to then quickly look at some options that potentially it has. And this is the option chain for APRN. So we can just kind of get a game plan in our head of potentially maybe what we would want to do. And so I'm going to look at the Jan 23 and Jan 24 option chain. Now it's 2023 and 2024. So I'm going to look at these two option chains, okay? And let's see what we can potentially want to do here. The bid-ask spread is actually not too bad. Okay, so that's the first thing I notice. The next thing I notice is for an additional year, I'd be paying about $1 additional at whichever strike price, right? So I'm looking at the 15 strike, be buying this one in the 23 year for $1.55. For the 15 strike in 24, I'd be paying about $2.65. And the strike level at 17, still about the same thing, still about a dollar increase. And then it actually starts to increase as you go on. The difference starts to it actually stays about a dollar. It stays about a dollar all throughout the chain. So you're paying about a dollar extra going out the additional year to 2024. That is something that I'm willing to pay. If it crossed over, I would be willing to give it that much time, right? Okay, 2 years to do your thing, make the move, because it's such a low price that if they do have a business turnaround, the shorts start covering, it starts to have that change of direction. And if it has the massive pop like we just saw with GameStop or GME, then I would probably just look to close out the options. But if they start to have a business turnaround, this is something that I probably would look to hold well into the expiration period. Okay, so maybe I wouldn't hold it that full 2 years. Maybe I'd hold it for a year and a half after getting into the trade and that kind of thing. But I would be looking to go out to the farthest out options. They don't look too shabby. Well, they don't look too bad for getting into this potential setup. But I would definitely wait. And honestly, which ones you would want to go with, well, it just kind of depends on how much you potentially want to put into the investment. But remember, we're looking to potentially get into this trade as APRN gets above 13 points. So these 12 strikes, these 10 and 12 strikes, they would actually be in the money, and these 15s would be the ones out of the money. So that would be a potentially maybe look at buying the 17s or the 20s. It's just going to have to depend. You have to re-examine it, but that would be the ones that I would typically like to look at, as I do like to go maybe 1 or 2 strikes above at the money area, as just my personal preference, and I can break that down in another video. But that would be what I would look to do. Okay, I would look at maybe the 17 or the 20s, or something around there. If APRN breaks above that 13-point price level that we looked at, right? If it breaks above, we get the notification, we re-examine. Are they increasing revenue? Are they increasing earnings? What's going on with the short float? And just because they're not increasing in earnings, well then it doesn't mean that I don't want to do the trade. But you can just check and see, at least on TradingView, you can just click down here the E button or the little E flag and just see what their earnings have been doing. So that would be my game plan for APRN. Like I was saying, I would potentially look to make quite a substantial return, as I think as it makes the turnaround and kind of pops higher. I mean, even if it just went back to the high of this candle back here from the COVID bottom, the short covering probably that came in, that would be a profitable trade. If it just went back to the top of that and it didn't break through, I would just probably look to close, as it pulled back to the mid-20s. But that would be my game plan for this type of trade setup. Okay, for APRN, it's one of those that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to get into this right now. I'm just going to put it in my alerts, and here's my alerts. So I just have APRN crossing the 1306, which is close enough for 13 for me. And yeah, whenever I get the alert, I'll just re-examine. I'll go check out the options, see what I can get into, that kind of thing. So hope you appreciated this. And if you want me to come up with a game plan for a stock, just leave that down in the comments. If you do like this game plan, give this video a like, and I'll continue to do some more like this. I don't want to cover stocks more than like twice a year or every 6 months, as you don't really need to all that often. But I think this is a solid game plan for APRN. As we, after the IPO, we started selling down, we've gone sideways, and we have this double top at 13. Anything to break above that, I think, is a change of direction for the stock and could potentially lead to higher gains. Even if it got back into the 50 area, like that's like, you know, perfect. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this. Alrighty, take care, Alpha Hunters.